Hi guys, Darth Deuce here, again back with another Star Wars action figure review, or figures I should say in this case. We're taking a look at a battle pack or multi-pack. This is the Jedi versus Sith pack from 2006, I think. This is part of the Saga collection. And I didn't know this set existed. I was looking for Asajj Ventress figures online on eBay, and this pack came up, and I noticed that the Ventress in this set, it is decoed and designed to look like a realistic interpretation of how she looked in the 2D series, which I absolutely love that series. And as far as I know, this is the only time they released a Ventress actually decoed and based on how she appeared in the series. There's the animated, like the figure that is based, sculpted to look like the actual animation. Then there's this one in a realistic design, but with the color scheme and everything of the Tartakovsky. I don't think they ever made another one. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they ever made another one. So I was really intrigued, mainly with that figure, but I found the set for the whole pack for a decent price, and got them. The seller actually accepted my offered price, so I got it for even cheaper than that. I think I paid like $30 Canadian for it. So for 5 figures, why not? It's an interesting set. I don't know why it's called Jedi versus Sith. There's Jedi in this set, but there are no Sith. I mean, at best, Ventress is a Sith apprentice, but she's not a full Sith Lord. General Grievous is not a Sith at all. They both serve the Sith, I guess. But I think it's a pack of mainly retooled or some reissued figures, some new figures. There's some interesting stuff going on. There's some bad stuff going on. There's some not great figures here, but I thought it'd be a fun thing to review. So let's take a look at them. We'll go through them individually. I'm going to cover the bad guys last. They are the better figures of the set, to be honest. But there's, yeah, some issues. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get him. Let's take a look at the Yoda first. I haven't done any crazy research. I assume this is just a reissue of some Yoda that's already existed from like Revenge of the Sith or something. It's an okay figure. I actually don't have a prequel Yoda in my collection right now, or at least not one I can really display that has the proper accessories. I really hope they make a new TVC Revenge of the Sith or Attack of the Clones Yoda. It's desperately needed because I think the old TVC one is not super cheap, I think, and the rest of them just aren't that good. This one's not terrible. The head sculpt, I think, is actually pretty decent. The paint is just okay, though. It's got the painted hair, looks nice. The eyes are all right. You're just kind of given this really, like, stare, this really intense stare. Then the rest of the figure, I kind of like the sculpt of the cloak. It's kind of flowing in the wind, a little bit more action-oriented. I don't like the bottom of the figure, though. The way they made the articulation, they designed it just like an old school vintage figure, and it comes off as that. And I don't like how it looks, the way it's all cut up here for those rotations. I actually can't even get these to split. They might be glued together. What the? I thought these legs could articulate individually because they look like they are. I don't know if they're glued together or maybe they just were always designed like that. They just don't move separately. But you do have a sculpt detail for the feet and even the little nails on his feet, which is nice. Hands look good. You know, there's not a whole lot to say. Articulation, he rotates at the neck. Swivels at the shoulders, swivels at the elbows. Only the lightsaber wielding hand has a swivel wrist, or not a swivel wrist on the other side for some reason. And then you have the hinges at the hips, obviously. And then articulation, he comes with an absolutely tiny lightsaber. The hilt is super tiny. I don't know why it's like that. And then the blade itself isn't even as long as it probably should be. So that's really weird looking, to be honest. But I don't know. It's not the worst thing ever. It'll be a decent placeholder for me until I can get a better Yoda, but not too bad right now. However, the worst figure of the set, in my opinion, is this Obi-Wan. So I appreciate the attempt they tried to do here. They tried to do a General Kenobi figure, and they tried to make it so you could remove all of the armor and have just a normal Obi-Wan. I appreciate the thought. It's just really badly executed. The helmet's a bit too small. The overlay of the cloak and the chest armor just looks bad. The rest of the armor that goes on the arms and the legs pegs in, And like the forearm armor doesn't even peg in at the right spot on the arm. The shoulder pad one don't stay on. I can't get the left one to stay on. You can see the hole there. I can't get it to stay on. And just when you have the armor removed, you have all these holes in the figure, so it doesn't look very good. The overlay doesn't look good. It just doesn't look good. I never knew this existed. It makes me even happier that the Legacy collection in 2008 ended up doing a much better version, because this is real bad. Just bring in that '08 figure for comparison. Sorry, it's a bit dusty. I haven't touched this figure in a while. But you can see they took, with this one, they did this weird armor overlay. They just, for this one, just made him fully clone armored. But it just looks so much better when you just get rid of the gimmick of having all the armor removed. So yeah, it doesn't look good. That's pretty much all I can say. We take the armor off of him here. Some of it will just fall off. I can just lift this off of the torso. Yeah, that just lifts off. You just unplug the armor. And set that off to the side. So without the armor, it's not a terrible looking Obi-Wan, I guess, for Attack of the Clones or whatever. He's got the robes. You have the holes, which are annoying. The head sculpt's okay. The face paint's not fantastic. But, you know, could do worse, I suppose. The arms feel like they have like a action gimmick, but I don't. Oh, he does have an action gimmick. You push his legs and he does a little lightsaber swing. So they really tried to pump in a lot of stuff with this guy. They tried to do a play feature, and they tried to give him removable armor, clone armor. I think they just tried to do way too much with this figure. Just standing there with the lightsaber, which he does come with a lightsaber, which is nice. But outside of that, it's not great. I already have the TVC Attack the Clones Obi-Wan with the face print upgrade. This figure is just going to go in like my storage, because there's no point to display this. But yeah, I think this is my least favorite figure of the set. It's quite bad. But probably, oops, come on, he doesn't even want to stand properly. Maybe my second favorite figure of the set, though, is this Anakin. This is Anakin based on his duel with Asajj Ventress on Yavin 4. And I really love that scene, and I don't think they ever made another figure, another Anakin figure based on this design, with all the battle damage and ripped up robes and everything. I could be wrong. Maybe this figure got a single release or something. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. I've never seen anything like this elsewhere, so I think this is unique to the set. And this definitely makes the set somewhat desirable. I think it's a pretty cool figure, and the only one that exists of that look from that fairly iconic duel from that series. So that makes it pretty desirable. He looks pretty good for the most part. Head sculpt, I mean, it's fine. Doesn't really look like Hayden Christensen, to be honest. And they really overdid the paint on the lips. He looks like he's either wearing purple lipstick or someone punched him in the mouth and he started to swell up. That I don't like that. But aside from that, the eye paint is like fine for the time period. The hair looks good with the little braid. I like this tattered robes there with the bare arms. Looks really cool. And I really love the detail of the prosthetic cybernetic arm. That looks really cool with the details there, gold, silver, and black. I really like that a lot. And then on the legs, you got these sculpted details of slashes and cuts in the pants, which look really nice too, and the boots. So honestly, aside from the lips, it's a pretty good looking figure. I like it quite a bit. Articulation also isn't awful. He's got a ball joint at the head. You have hinges and swivels at both shoulders, although for some reason they want to move together. This figure maybe has a play feature. Yeah, I think if you push in this figure's legs, he also has some sort of lightsaber swinging gimmick, but it's not really working very well for me. That's okay. I don't need it to work. But you still have hinges and swivels there. Only the left elbow has a hinge and rotation, and then no wrist articulation. On this arm, it's sculpted to be in a bent position, but you do have forearm rotation, so very weird articulation scheme there. I guess technically the waist swivels, but it clicks because of the play feature. You have swivels at the hips, and then you have hinges at the knees that go about 90 and they rotate. No ankle articulation. The hinges are also kind of loose on mine for the knees, but I did get this used and loose, so I don't know. It's just old. Also, the ankles and legs are sculpted to kind of be in this action position, so the knee articulation is also kind of pointless because you're always going to have them in this sort of stance. But still, I think it looks pretty good. Accessory-wise, he just has the lightsaber, but it's sculpted and painted pretty well. He holds it well, and yeah, it's not a bad one. This one is definitely my second favorite of the set. Oops. See if I can get him to stand. Yeah, close enough. Next up, we'll talk about this General Grievous. I think this is just a reissue of a Revenge of the Sith General Grievous. Maybe it has some paint differences. I haven't looked. But actually, it's also one of the more solid figures of the set, and Anakin just fell. It's not bad looking. He's got a lot of like weather detail and a bunch of actually pretty nicely painted detail. The head sculpt I think looks pretty good. The cloak is detailed to look like it did in Tartakovsky series, where it's white with the red on the inside and the logo. It's sculpted and painted pretty nicely, actually. It pegs on the chest. You can unpeg it and remove it if you want, although it does a good job to help the figure stand up, to be honest. Then you just have the other details. This figure, his arms are just in the normal configuration, not the forearm configuration, which I kind of like because it gives me a different way to display for different Grievouses in my collection. But yeah, the sculpted and paint detail is actually pretty nice. But one problem is the figure's way too small. His legs, like the Anakin, are sculpted so that even though he has knee articulation, they're meant to be in a bent pose. And in the bent pose, he's like barely taller than Obi-Wan, when he should be, you know, fairly a bit bigger, both in bulk and in height. But with articulation, you do have a ball joint at the neck. You have hinges and swivels at the shoulders, although they're at this weird angle, but you do still get some posability there. Both arms, you have like these swivel cuts around the elbow area. And then I don't think you have any wrist articulation. There's a really weird upper torso swivel right there. Then there's a swivel at the hips. You do actually have hinges and rotations at the ankle or knees, but then there's no articulation in the ankles. So like I said, they always have to be in kind of this pose, I guess. And then they're made of softer plastic. So again, this figure is kind of a pain to get standing up, which is a bit unfortunate. And like I said, too small. Accessory wise, you do have the cloak, and then he does have his blaster pistol, which it goes into the right hand, and then the left hand is meant for the lightsaber. You get one single blue bladed lightsaber, nice silver paint on the hilt. And that's your General Grievous. It would have been nice if they included at least one more green blade lightsaber so you can have them at least dual wielding lightsabers, but this is the accessory I think the original release came with, so I'm not super surprised that's how this one works as well. Overall, it's not like the worst Grievous figure ever or anything like that. I actually might display this one, but it is not perfect by any means. Let me see if I can fix Anakin real quick. Up there. There we go. But the main, I think, attraction of the set, at least for me, aside from Anakin, is the Ventress. Like I said, I think this is the only realistic designed Tartakovsky version of Ventress they did. The one like the Sith Apprentice one from the realistic Clone Wars series was more based on the Republic comics, as well as the comic pack was also based on the Republic comics, but this is based on the show. And I really like how it looks. In terms of look, it might be my favorite Ventress figure I have. She's got the fully whited out eyes with the black around them and the pale lips that I think look really good. This figure also is a lot of new tooling. I was expecting to be mostly reuse of the Sith Apprentice Ventress, but it actually isn't. It's mostly new. The torso is new. The head might be reused, but it also might be new, to be honest. It's hard to tell. But the torso is new. The arms are new because the articulation's a lot different. But they look good. The figure does have this weird, like, yellowish sort of on it. I don't think it's, like, gunk. I think it's just, like, some weird yellowish weathering to bring out the sculpted details a bit more. It looks all right in some areas and weird in other areas, to be honest. But you have the nice silver belt buckle and then the sort of robe design she had in the show. You've got the a lot of sculpted detail. And I like how, like, this coppery color then fades into the black. I think that's super cool as well. She does retain the similar style of hilt holsters that the Sith Apprentice Ventress had, which is kind of cool. And then this is not very soft plastic, this lower robe. It is very rigid. And then the legs underneath, I think might be new sculpts as well, but they have no articulation. They're also made of a very soft plastic, so this figure is really tough to stand without a stand, which is, this stand doesn't come with the set. I just had to use it because otherwise this figure wasn't standing up. So that's a bit of unfortunate. But I really like the look of it. It looks really great. Like I said, in terms of look, it's probably my favorite looking Ventress figure in my collection. In terms of articulation, she's a ball joint at the head. Do have hinges and swivels at the shoulders, which is nice. She does have a small upgrade from the Sith Apprentice one where she has swivel cut elbows, but then the problem is they didn't give her wrist swivels, so you can't rotate and correct the wrist when you bend or rotate and bend the elbows. So you're actually really limited to what you can do with the elbows, because in a lot of poses where the elbows are bent more, the wrists look ridiculous. There's no way you'd be holding the saber like that. It just doesn't make sense. So that's kind of unfortunate. If this figure had wrist swivel, the articulation would be a lot better. There's a swivel at the waist, and I think she technically has swivels at the hips, but the articulation of the legs is unusable because of the plastic robes underneath. So yeah, I definitely wish the articulation was a little better. That's definitely a bummer. I was hoping there would at least be swivels at the wrists. Without those, it's a lot more limited than it really should have been, and it would have been hard to engineer those into this figure, especially even for that year. So I don't really know why they didn't do that. In terms of accessories, she just comes with her two curved blade lightsabers. They have some nice silver and black paint with some decent vibrant red blades. They have the hooks so you can connect them into the double bladed lightsaber configuration if you want to. I thought these would be reuse of the Sith Apprentice hilts. Surprisingly, they're not. These are new pieces because the blades are not removable, which is a weird choice because you have the holsters for the hilts, and I guess you could technically store these lightsabers there, but then you have the blades poking out. It'd look ridiculous. So these are basically non-functional, and I don't know why they didn't make the blades removable and just reuse the Sith Apprentice's hilts. It's kind of weird. So yeah, but otherwise I really like how this one looks. Definitely my favorite of the set, because the whole reason why I bought it. But I can do some comparisons. I forgot to do the comparison with the Anakin. The really quick comparison with the Anakin is just the other Tartakovsky Anakin I have from the 30th anniversary collection, where he had the tattoos and everything, which I feel like they're kind of similar figures in some ways. Engineered similarly. I think they might actually share the same left arm. But yeah, very cool to always add more Tartakovsky figures to the collection. And then for Ventress, here she is with the Sith Apprentice Ventress, which they have some similarities to, but are actually a lot more different than I was expecting. Here she is with the comic pack Ventress that would come out a couple years later. And then here she is with the recent TVC Count Dooku, which I think they still look pretty good together. But overall, this is an okay set. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat. This is one of the few things I've bought for Star Wars. I usually try to buy stuff I know I'll like, and there is stuff I like about this. I think the Ventress is very cool. I think the Anakin is very cool. But the rest of the set's mid to just bad. The Obi-Wan's bad. The Yoda's just okay. The Grievous is not great. It's all right, but not great. So I would recommend only hunting down the Anakin and the Ventress. But if you can get the whole pack for a good price, then it's worth it just to get those two figures. Like I said, I got mine for like $30 Canadian, so like, well, that's what $20 USD or something like that. $20 for 5 figures just to get 2 that you want and 3 extra ones. It's not bad. So if you're a fan of the 2D Clone Wars Tartakovsky series, I would definitely recommend this set if you can get it for cheap. Otherwise, it's definitely one that's easy to skip. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know anything down in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next video. May the Force be with you.